Tower of God Season 2 comes out in just a few weeks, and I know what you're thinking. I saw Season 1 years ago. Is there anything I should remember or keep in mind for Season 2? Yeah, there's actually a lot. But it's okay, because I'm gonna explain everything you need to know from Tower of God Season 1 that is going to be relevant in Tower of God Season 2. I'm gonna recap all the important stuff that happened in Season 1, as well as remind you of all the terms and things to keep in mind that are gonna be relevant in Season 2. There's also timestamps down below if you want to jump to a specific thing that you want to remember. Tower of God begins with a girl named Rachel who wants to enter something called the Tower, which is essentially an entirely new world for her and this boy named Bomb. Bomb grew up in a cave, Rachel's his only friend, and so he doesn't want her to go. But what ends up happening is that Bomb creates the opening into the tower, which both he and Rachel fall into. This act constitutes them as irregulars. Irregulars are essentially people who were not chosen by the tower, they were people who chose to enter the tower of their own volition. On the first floor of this tower, Bomb meets Hedon, who is the primary caretaker of the tower and the guardian of the first floor. Hedon is the one who chooses who enters the tower, so he didn't choose Bomb, that makes Bomb an irregular. To explain this even further, the tower is divided into a few different sections. There's the inner tower, which is where regulars and irregulars who enter climb and take tests and sort of battle it out and duke it out to see who makes it to the top and sort of ascend each floor continuously. But there's also this thing called the outer tower, and then in between the two, the middle area. These are locations where people tend to live, they get jobs, even in the inner tower. So these people who are typically climbing the tower, they all exist in the tower already. So Hedon chooses from those people who want to enter the inner tower and climb. And the people who make it to the top become rankers. Rankers are the most powerful characters in this entire story. No regular could ever hope to even stand a chance against a ranker. Bomb wants to climb the tower because he wants to find Rachel, and so he meets Yuri, who is a princess of Jihad. They're essentially from the Jihad family. Jihad is the king of the tower. Alongside him, there's the 10 great families, but he's the one in charge of them all. And Yuri is one of the princesses, so she's royalty as well as a high ranker, the top 1,000 rankers. Because she knows he's an irregular, she's interested in him, and so she gives him something called the Black March, which is one of the 13-month series weapons. They're these very special weapons that have unique properties, and they can ignite. They can sort of unleash this crazy, weird power. That's a good way to explain it, I think. So Bomb uses the Black March, he passes the test, and he makes it to floor number 2, which is called the floor of tests. There's a bunch of tests that all regulars have to take on this floor to see if they qualify for the 3rd floor. Bomb meets Kun, a strategist from one of the 10 great families, the Kun family, and he also meets Rak, this mysterious crocodilian hunter. They team up, Kun and Rak kind of complement each other. Kun is somebody who tends to overthink, but he's very good at strategy, while Rak doesn't think at all. He's very bad at strategy, but they end up kind of complementing each other, and the team does pretty well. They meet Lei Ro and a bunch of other test administrators who are all rankers, so we get to kind of see this overwhelming sort of authority and power from these characters, and we learn about Shinsu. Shinsu is the magic system of Tower of God. It's air, it's water, it makes up most everything in this story, but more specifically and more importantly, you can take Shinsu and turn it into different elements, so lightning and fire. The higher you climb in the tower, the thicker the Shinsu density is, so Lei Ro creates this wall of Shinsu and says, you can't continue unless you pass through this wall. But the wall of Shinsu doesn't push away Bomb, because remember, he isn't bound by the same rules as everybody else. He chose to enter the tower, which is only something that 4 other named characters in this series have ever done. Those 4 characters being Rachel, she technically counts as one because she entered alongside Bomb. You have Enryu, you have Yurik, and you have Pentamenon. We don't know exactly who these characters are in Season 1, but they may be important later on. Eventually, they enter this optional test called the Crown Game. Whoever wins this gets to automatically go to floor number 3, and we meet some of our side characters. We meet Shibisu, who's a very comical but intelligent character. He's not very good at combat. You meet Hats, he's a swordsman, very noble, very just kind of personality. And we meet Anak, who has another of the 13-month series weapons, even though she isn't a princess. Once Anak finds out that Bomb has the Black March, she's willing to kill him to obtain it, but eventually after some interference from Lei Ro, they make a deal. If Bomb wins the Crown Game, he can win the Green April, but if he doesn't win the Crown Game, he has to give up the Black March to Anak. At first, it looks like Bomb, Kun, and Rak are going to win until Rachel appears and Bomb ends up leaving the crown, leaving the throne to save her life, meaning that Bomb, Kun, and Rak lose the game. It's at this moment that we see a bit of Bomb's Shinsu go wild. In the anime, it's a bit different than the comic, but regardless, it's a bit of a special showcase of Bomb's skill, and he also takes out the eye of the person who is about to harm Rachel. She may be important later on, maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit, yeah. The team that should have won the crown game was Rachel's team, which also was made up of a guy named Ghost, this kind of hulking, huge, intimidating figure who doesn't speak, and Dorsey, who is actually a regular who's a princess of Jihad. However, they turn it down. They want to stick around for some unknown reason. The next few days are the positions test. Everybody is placed into a different role, a different position. I'll put them on screen here. They kind of just determine what kind of role you're gonna fit for the team, and only a few people in each position are gonna pass. So only 4 fishermen, only 2 wave controllers, etc. During one of the fisherman tests, we learn that Anak is actually the daughter of a princess of Jihad. Princesses of Jihad are not allowed to get married, they're not allowed to have kids, they only exist for Jihad's purposes. And so Anak's mother, who his real name was Anak, ran away and had Anak before being killed by Jihad's army. So the Anak that we know is sort of a forbidden, kind of on-the-run, wanted half-princess, and she has her mother's Green April weapon. This plays a lot into Dorsey's character, especially as we're gonna see later on, because she's somebody who outwardly seems to want to follow this law, be one of Jihad's sort of soldiers, right, and not have an entire life and romance of your own. But it's pretty clear throughout these scenes that she's debating it herself, whether or not she should also be someone to break these rules like Anak's mother. Bom ends up waking up from his coma, and surprise, he's really good at using Shinsu, so he's put into the wave controller class. His teacher is definitely not sus, and a classmate named Ho is definitely not super jealous, and it's definitely not gonna matter whatsoever. It matters a lot. Ho is worried because Bom and Lauro, who's the sleepy guy, you all know the sleepy guy, right? They're both really good at Shinsu, and only 2 wave controllers are gonna pass, so Ho doesn't think he's gonna pass, but then someone sends him a letter that basically says, hey, I know of a way that we can guarantee Bom fails this test. Just take out Rachel. Rachel's the only reason he's climbing the tower to begin with, and so if she fails, Bom is gonna give up. And so, Ho's scheming begins. We arrive at the hide-and-seek test, which is the final determining factor to see which characters and which positions are gonna pass. This is the final chance to get like bonus points to see which characters are gonna pass their positions. And at first, Kuhn's team is doing really well. You've got Kuhn and Shibisu, who are both really intelligent. You have Anak, all these characters that are really, really strong. But at the very end, it seems like all their plans fall through until we learn that Kuhn secretly, without telling a soul, he intentionally sabotaged the team so that Bom's team could get an extra chance to get points. Kuhn is the top light bearer by far. Rack already passed because of this spear bearer rule. If you hit this far away target, you pass automatically, so he's good to go. And so Kuhn did everything he could to make sure that Bomb's team gets all the extra points. So now we get to see how Bomb's group is doing, and it's not looking good. And Dorsey starts attacking her own allies. She wants to guarantee her spot as a passing fisherman, and then Bomb finds out that Rachel has been taken hostage by Ho. He goes off to rescue her. Kuhn predicted part of this. He saw that Ho was acting weird, but only because he was told so by Hua Ryun, who was that character that attacked Rachel during the crown game, the red hair. For some reason, she was aware of this, told Kuhn, who then asked Dorsey to protect Bom, and she does. With a little bit of help from Quant, Bom is able to rescue Rachel, but not before Ho stabs her in the side. And with no other purpose, knowing that he's never going to be able to climb the tower ever again, he ends his own life. And Dorsey faces off against a handicapped Quant, and she ends up tricking him and winning the test for their team, earning them a ton of bonus points. All of our main characters end up passing, except for Serena. Rip Serena, we'll always remember you. Except for Rachel. Because of her injury, Rachel is no longer able to walk. But Bom reveals himself as an irregular, and he does this because he hears from Han Sung-yu, the primary test giver of this floor, because Evan Kell is gone. He hears that only irregulars can sort of challenge the results of this with an extra special test designed only for irregulars. Han Sung agrees because all of this was his plan, sending the letter to Ho, making Bom reveal himself as an irregular. It turns out that Han Sung is the antagonist of this season. Throughout this season, Bom has proven himself as a bit of a shining light. He didn't grow up in the tower, this bloody, horrible place with everybody else. He grew up in the cave. He's innocent and naive and pure. And so everybody is attracted to that. And so they all agreed to take this final test together to see if they can make Rachel climb the tower with them. Bom's wave controller teacher reveals himself to be Ren, an assassin from Jihad's army, and the one who killed Anak's mother. He's there to kill Anak, this forbidden half-princess, but Yuri, the older, elder princess of these three, and Dorsey, Anak, and Yuri, she arrives and she saves the day, obtains the Black March and the Green April. However, Ren escapes. This is something that wasn't in the anime, but he does escape. Who knows if he'll appear again? I don't know. And everything is going well until the bull, which was a creature controlled by Ren, it escapes into the location where Bomb and Rachel are. It looks dire, but the location where Bomb and Rachel are, it's very dense with Shinsu, and so Bomb is able to use this to fire a single bang into the mouth of the bull, killing it instantly. It's looking great. Oh my god, Bomb saved the day. He saved the day. Everything's going great. And then Rachel, she stands up, and then she pushes him. What? Rachel was faking the paralysis, and she shoves Bomb into the depths. Han Sung tells everyone that Bomb is super dead. And despite this, everybody agrees we'll climb the tower with Rachel anyway to honor Bomb. The ones who are most affected by Bomb's death are Kun, Rak, and Endorsi. Something the anime didn't really show was the connection between Bomb and Endorsi, and Bomb teaching Endorsi that loneliness is not the only recourse. It's okay to take a risk and to make friends with people that genuinely care about you. And so Endorsi, she's pretty messed up by Bomb's death. This is gonna matter in season 2. They decide to help carry Rachel up to the top of the tower. She continues faking her paralysis, and it's revealed that Rachel the entire time watched Bomb on the first floor. She was in the shadows. She was afraid to do what Bomb was able to do, and she developed this resentment, this jealousy, and Hedon gave her just a little push. He told her, what if you kill him? What if you kill him? If I ask you to kill him, will you? Because if you do, you will be the heroine of this story. And then we cut to Bomb, who, surprise, he lives, and he's found by Hwaryun. Hwaryun and Han Sung-yu are a part of this organization called Thug. Thug is a cult, anti-jihad organization that is recruiting people with potential. And so, Hwaryun says, I'll guide you up the tower, my god. And that's how season 1 ends. Oh, and later Ro quits, and then Quant gets fired, so we'll see if we ever see them again. But there you go, that's everything you need to know for Tower of God Season 2. For people who only watch the anime, Season 2 is when the story really starts. All of us manhwa readers, we consider Season 1 to be the prequel. This is sort of when the story introduces the lore, the characters, and the concepts, but Season 2 is when the real story really begins. The first couple arcs are about a new cast of characters centering around Wangnan and this mysterious figure named Viol. These are personally my favorite characters in the entire series, and just the way that they're tied into the main story is absolutely peak. The release date for Season 2 is July 7th, which is almost exactly a year after Tower of God's first appearance on Webtoon, which is so cool. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you when the anime releases. Let's freaking go!